everyone. Welcome to Moms Writers Club. I am Jessica.
And I'm Sarah.
Please give us a quick like and subscribe. Today, we are going to talk all about book events and how, as an author, you can get them like at your local bookstore, and then how to approach it when it's actually time to do it. I just had my first in-store, like live book event this past, so what is today? Wednesday. It's Wednesday.
And I missed it because
Well,
I'm
you were on the
3,500 miles away.
You are on the other side of the country. But yeah, so I did it this past Saturday, so it's fresh on my mind, and we decided this would be a great topic. So I think I'm going to be talking.
I want to hear all about it because I'm going to have some coming up in March.
Yes. If anybody has any questions, drop them below or send us a message on Twitter, and we'll be happy to answer them. I guess first of all, let's just talk about approaching bookstores. This is something that is so intimidating, and I asked lots of people for advice on, and everybody said go in person and approach whoever's working there and be really kind and nice. And you know what? I did that, and it did not work very well at the first couple of bookstores I went in. I talked to 3 different bookstores, and all 3 of them asked me to email because the manager was not there. So like maybe if I'd caught the manager, it would have been fine. But the first place...
I sort of imagine going into a bookstore and getting like, some like 19-year-old,
these were all clerk. Adults.
Oh, like, yeah. But I mean, just like the person who's like there for their gig, and like they're not in charge of that.
And I also think they get I have the vibe, I do not know, feel free to correct me if you work at a bookstore, that they get approached by a lot of authors, and that not that they don't want to work with authors, but that they get approached by just a ton of people. At the 3 I've gone into, I was asked to email instead. So I had like dressed up and gotten ready, and it was like, thanks for the business card, I will go email. So
this came as a great relief to me, thinking, because like the idea of actually going into a store and talking to a human being is kind of like makes me cringy. I mean, I don't even like talking to people in stores when I'm buying stuff. I'm like, don't say hi to me. Don't say bye to me. Just pretend I'm not here.
I was like nervous, but also excited. I will also say I did not have ARCs when I was doing this, but if you have an ARC, or especially like if you have like an established relationship at the bookstore, I hear it is good to take an ARC to give them. So I ended up working with Browser's Bookshop in Olympia, Washington. They have been absolutely amazing. When I first spoke to them, it was the same thing, please email. And I emailed them, the owner actually, and she was very receptive to it. And we initially just set up signed pre-order so that people could order through the bookstore website, and then they could ask for whatever personalization they wanted on their like paperback copy, and I'd go in and sign it. And when I went in to sign, she had so people had ordered so many books, and I was actually like a little nervous to ask about an in-person thing, and COVID was still, it's still a thing for sure. And by the time this posted, it's probably going to be even more of a thing than it is right this second again. But I was just kind of unsure. So I didn't say anything, but she actually invited me to do an in-person event, which was absolutely amazing. So I ended up doing my first in-person event about 2 months after my book release. So you can do it whenever. And I had a great turnout. Lots of people came. So that was really wonderful. As far as the planning aspect, I did try to advertise it somewhat heavily. I didn't want to be annoying, but how many times have you like gotten on Facebook or Instagram and seen like photos of an event that you did not even know that the event was happening, and then you look back and you're like, oh, they've posted about it, it just never showed up on my feed. So I tried to be aware that people are online at different times, and so I posted on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, basically anywhere I had social media. I also sent it out in my newsletter twice over the course of about a month. I didn't want to harass people with it, but just really making sure that people knew about it. Anyone who had specifically asked me to let them know if I was having an event, I also let them know, just because I really was hoping to have a good turnout. I was both afraid nobody would show up and afraid a lot of people would show up. I stressed a lot about what to wear. And in the end, I decided to go with something that was nice, but also that I was comfortable in, because I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. I didn't want to wear shoes that hurt my feet or anything like that. I just wanted to feel like I was in my own skin. I also felt the need to bring wine. So make sure you can do this before you do this. Like check with the manager or the bookstore owner. But I brought wine, and I brought 6 bottles, which ended up being way too much. However, I could then gift it to the booksellers there. And that was
Oh,
really
nice.
fun
Yeah,
to be able to do.
that's cool.
So yeah, that worked out really well. I like to start talking about it at least a month out because especially during summer, my event was in July. People have a lot of plans. So just like getting it on their calendars early and then also reminding people the week prior, I think really helped because we all get really busy. So I posted about it again the week prior. I also posted on local community groups on Facebook and I did get some turnout from that. So things to bring with you, whatever pen you like to sign a book with. I personally am a big fan of just a regular fine point Sharpie. I've tried a lot of different pens. I tried the ultra fine Sharpie and I felt like I had to be way too careful with it because the ink didn't flow fast enough. You also might be okay with it's called a G2. I don't remember what brand does it, but I think that would work okay. But so I had wine. So I had the wine, napkins, and cups. Don't forget cups, where people will be drinking out of bottles and it will be a little weird. And I took business cards and I actually ended up giving out a lot of them. My business cards have, these aren't my updated ones, but they have my information on the front of my contact info. And then on the back, they now have both books, but they have, it has both of my books and then a QR code that you can scan. And that was kind of cool because I have another book coming out. So I could people could see the title of that book and scan a QR code to be able to pre-order it. I also took a notebook and set up like a newsletter sign up. And I wasn't sure if people would do it, but actually quite a few people wrote their email address down and it's on my website. But your friends may not go to your website very often because they know you.
Right.
Or,
and some people are old school. They're like, you deal with the input. Like,
yeah. So I got several new people for my newsletter. As far as working with the bookstore people, I try to get to know their names. I don't know everybody's name. I wish I knew more of their names. I need to ask the next time I go in. But they're just really wonderful people to work with. And they were excited for me. They were excited to have lots of people show up. And it was a lot of fun. The event itself, I showed up on I'm gonna call it game day. And I didn't know how it was gonna work at all. But I got there about half an hour early, which was the right amount of time. It let me set up and kind of collect myself and make sure I was comfortable. Got the wine out. I got to talk to the owner a little bit, which was really nice. And she gave me kind of an idea of how the event would run. She introduced me, which I would recommend having someone else introduce you. It's just kind of nice. She had my bio from my website, but if, make sure they have that. And if not, maybe provide it for them. After that, I talked a little bit about myself and I actually, not that I'm trying to talk lots about myself, but I wish I'd spent a little more time on that. It seems like people are really interested in an author's process and where they get the inspiration behind the book. Those were the two main things people suggested talking about. And I was like, I'm already going to be reading them my book for 15 minutes. Isn't that going to be too much time? But it ended up going by so fast, even trying to slow down and talk more slowly. So I wish I'd spent a little more time on that. And I definitely will next time.
So you also said, I think you said you wished that you had started the reading or that you had maybe started the event up so I think your event started at 5 or 4.
It started at 4, but we should have had 10 minutes of mingling because a lot of people showed up
and
as soon as I started reading.
Yeah, and if you tell people 4, then people will show up at 4, but then they're walking around, they're looking for where to sit, where do I put my stuff?
Yeah. Or
they're seeing people they know or whatever. Yeah. So I actually went to a wedding recently that started so on time that we barely got to our seats.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's we were getting out of the car. We were expecting a little bit of I don't know, a little bit of time to mingle and get our bearings. And yeah. And then we were oh shit, we're going to miss it.
One of the best weddings I've ever been to, they allowed lots of time and they opened the bar before the wedding started specifically so you could get a drink and wander around for half an hour and it was perfect. So, for a 1-hour book event, half an hour would probably be too much. But yeah, I'm going to ask her next. Yeah, exactly. Next time I'll ask her, can we start at 4:10 so people can come in? Because what ended up happening is half the seats were full when I started reading. And by the time I finished, they were all full. And the rest of the people came in while I was reading, which was fine. I'll
but
get to
not
this in a second.
ideal. I mean, like if you can get them in their
They
seats and
they felt super
happy.
awkward.
Yeah.
They felt bad because they were like walking in front of me
They're
while
like,
I was
should I sit
reading.
down? Should I
Yeah,
wait? Yeah.
everybody hesitated at the top of the staircase, and I would smile and wave them in while trying not to lose my spot. Um,
Right.
on that
Yeah, that's a
note,
good idea.
read your chapters out loud, whatever you're going to read for them ahead of time. And I recommend you do it twice because, I mean,
And time
obviously,
yourself.
yeah, time yourself. Maybe record yourself if you feel like you talk fast and then talk a little slower than you think you need to. But I mean, I wrote this and I edited this book forever, it feels like, but I haven't read it in 6 months because that was the last time I put my hands on it. And I needed to reread it, and it
Yeah.
helped me read much better and put emphasis and inflection in the right
Yeah.
places. And like, there
And
were a
that
couple
really
lines
brings it across, you know?
yeah, and there were a couple lines I stumbled over. So I got to like practice those and not stumble over them. I also have another book coming out in September, and I wasn't sure. I was like, are eyes going to be glazed over or is everybody going to seem interested? And people seemed pretty interested. So I did bring the first chapter of the book that's coming out in September, and I read that to them kind of as a tease because like nobody had gotten to read it yet besides critique partners and such. And that was really fun. I think all in all, I ended up talking or reading for about 15 minutes.
And I want to emphasize the read slowly because
Yeah.
I'm in a critique group. I'm in this sort of like interesting critique group where there'd be like a whole bunch of people and you bring in 2,000 words and you hand it all out and you read it out loud. And then everybody gets a few minutes to think and then they tell you what they think. And the number one issue in that group is people reading so fast that you can't, it's just hard to follow, even
Yeah.
as you're reading along. And when the main guy who leads this group is there, he will stop everybody. Like he's like, you know, and he will
And tell
stop
them to
you.
slow
He will
down.
slow you down.
Oh.
And he's the one who said, if you don't, let's see, if you don't feel like you're reading too slowly, you're reading too fast. Reading out loud, I feel like when it's about the right pace, like to me, it feels like I'm going really slow.
Now I'm so curious if you think I was reading that. I mean, you don't know because you weren't there, and I didn't get
No,
anyone
'cause
to
I
record
wasn't
it. I'm
there and
sorry.
nobody recorded it.
Well, the people I was going to ask to record showed up like at 4:02 after I'd already
Yeah.
started. It was so fun. Like I'd done book clubs and I've done a ton of interviews, but I'd never like done something in person like that. At
Hmm.
least not with like, I mean, my neighbors have like this great porch sit they do every evening, and like I'd like done a little thing with them, but it was just great to have like a bigger group. And there were people there I didn't know who came to like listen to me read my book, and that was just so cool. And then
Yeah.
afterwards people came up. Oh, well, we did Q&A. And I had about 5, maybe 6 questions. Next time I'm probably going to ask my friends to ask a few more questions, like give them questions ahead of time, or just not because I want to like answer a billion questions, but there would be like that silence as people are like not sure if they should ask questions.
Right.
And it would be nice to have,
It takes people a little while to warm up to
yeah,
be
and to
like,
feel comfortable. So
yeah.
just to get that going, I think I would ask a few friends. I just prep them ahead of time with like, hey, can you ask me this question or whatever? The other thing is take photos. And if you are like an Instagram or TikTok person, like I think my TikTok I did on this started with me getting ready. And it was like 5 seconds of me being like, am I wearing too much makeup? Is it not enough makeup? And it was a lot of fun. And then I like filmed the front of the bookstore. And then that's something that the bookstore can also repost to
Yeah.
like promote themselves. And it was a lot of fun. And then I took photos with almost everyone who attended. And that was great to post online later. I signed a bunch of books. I would recommend having people spell their names for you because Kathy can be spelled about 18 different ways.
Right.
And what you don't want to do is have someone like buy a book and hand it to you to sign, and then you spell their name wrong, because then you feel like you have to like buy them another book because their
Yeah.
name is spelled wrong. At the end, it was really fun. After everybody had left, I talked to the bookstore owner and she invited me back for another event for my next book, which was just a great feeling. I think with COVID, people's attendance at events like this has been down like across the
Yeah.
country. So it
Yeah.
was great to have a full house. I also think though that it's totally normal to only have a handful of people show up. So don't beat yourself up if that happens. I will say like I would try to plan it for like a weekend when
Mhm.
people are more likely to be able to come. I
What
was
day of
given
the
the
week was
option.
yours?
Saturday. And I was given
Mhm.
the option of doing like a Thursday night, but a
Mhm.
lot of my friends are coming from like 30 minutes away and they're not going to want
Yeah.
to come to a Thursday night at 6 p.m., especially in a high traffic area
Yeah.
event. So for me, weekends worked better. For you, it might be a weeknight. But also, just like anything, don't self reject on this. The
Yeah.
worst they're going to say is no or not reply to your email. So reach out. You can reach out to libraries, bookstores. I have seen people do book things in like gift shops.
Mhm.
So don't be afraid to reach out and ask. And I say try to build a relationship with the bookstore if you can. For me, it was a little hard because we've been moving around with the military. So there's like no one bookstore I've been like right next to for the past
Right.
10 years. But this place has just been so wonderfully accepting. It's Browser's Bookshop in Olympia. If you're ever in Washington, it is literally the cutest bookstore I have ever seen. And I have been to a lot of bookstores. So I would highly recommend checking it out.
Go ahead.
Another recommendation I would have, my husband ended up entertaining our daughter most of the time, so he could not take photos, but have other people take photos for you as well. Because
And
it
video.
was, yeah, and it was definitely a little awkward to be like, hey, everybody, do you mind if I take a quick TikTok? Which, like, I kind of had to do my own TikTok because TikTok's a little bit complicated to pull up your draft and get filming
Yeah.
again and then save it as a draft instead of posting it. But my friends took photos too, and it was so much fun to have those. And like if I had a friend who was a photographer, I would totally be like, I will buy you dinner if you will
Yeah.
come take photos of this for me. So you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about it. Because while I loved taking my own photos,
I will
that would have
bring
been
my
really nice too.
15-year-old daughter,
All
who
right.
is a TikTok expert. Oh my God. She's just like,
Excellent. I'm
"Boop,
glad
boop, boop,
someone
boop, boop,
is.
boop. Look at my
Because you
TikTok,
and
mom."
I were struggling.
We're moms. That's how, you know. So, one concern that I have about
Mhm.
when I do this is if I read the opening pages of my book, there are a lot of fucks on my first page of my book.
Yeah.
So, I'm
Well,
a little concerned.
I have many thoughts. Okay,
Then
first of
again,
all,
yeah,
these people are your audience,
yes.
probably, right? Not all of them. Like you might have a random person wander up. I'm pretty sure I had that from the rest of the bookstore. I would say, excuse me, probably forewarn them, especially if there are
Yeah.
children, forewarn
Oh,
them.
yeah. Yeah.
You also could choose to read from a different section of your book, not because you're avoiding saying fuck, but it
I
might not.
was intrigued. I am intrigued to go back into that manuscript and see
Yeah,
if I have a 4-page section that
you might
doesn't
have a
have the
different
word fuck.
part. Yeah, you might. Well, I wouldn't necessarily avoid it because people need
Yeah,
to know what they're getting into.
that's true.
But you also might find a different section of the book that you think would work better. But if
Yeah.
that is the section that works better, then fucking read it. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, this is your book.
Yeah.
I would just say ahead of time, like, there are a lot of F bombs at the beginning of this book,
Right.
and I plan on saying them out loud. You might also want to
Yeah.
just like touch base on management with
Yeah. Yeah.
management
Yeah. Yeah.
on that and just
Yeah.
be
I was
like,
thinking about that too, especially if people bring kids. Of
yeah,
course, my kids are like, well, they're
they're
barely
gonna
even
say
kids anymore.
I know they're getting so big. So those are my main thoughts around a book event. I think every book event is going to be a little different depending on like where you do it, how well you know the bookstore. Ultimately, I say go for it. Again, like don't self-reject. Like the worst
Yeah.
they're going to say is no or just not answer you, which is fine.
Yeah.
You still haven't lost anything. And
Yeah.
the cool thing is like you can establish a relationship with a bookstore. Like I am establishing a relationship with Browser's Bookshop and I freaking love it. Like I'm doing all my pre-orders through them. They're
Yeah.
hosting me for events. I would also say if you don't get a good response at the first bookstore you go to, that's okay. I had
Yeah.
one bookstore, honestly, be kind of rude to me, but I which is fine. I was trying to like stay in my like original
It's not
hometown
fine to be
area.
rude, kids. It's not
Yeah,
fine.
no, it's not. But like, you know what I mean? Like, don't let that stop you.
Yeah.
And then I found Browsers, which is like my freaking dream bookstore. So
That's so
like
awesome. Yeah, I
be
love it.
willing to go elsewhere, look around. I know a lot of Barnes and Nobles also host events, so you can ask with that. But it's also so wonderful to find an indie, like a local bookstore and work with them. And it's such a good feeling to know that like when people are ordering signed copies of my book that my local bookstore is getting the income from that they are
Yeah.
profiting
Mhm.
from that, and that is
Yeah.
like one small piece of the puzzle to them like continuing their business. And
Mhm.
I love that. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions about it. We are going to answer a few questions that we've received and talk a little bit about our latest writing retreat. Some of these questions are kind of old, because it's been a while since we've recorded.
I
We've had
know.
a
We had a
busy
lot
summer.
going on. Yeah.
You know, we did this last summer too. We took a month or two off, and I think we should just plan on it in the future because we just get busy
Yeah.
and we're both writing books.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we received the question, which this is maybe a little bit of a complex answer. I'd love to know how each of you chose which agents to query in what order. I'm terrified that I'm going to wait on a dream agent only to rush them because I have an offer or think I can't query them now or something. So I have a lot of thoughts, and I feel
I
like
do
there are a
too.
lot of different ways to go about this.
I also
On
have a
one
cat.
hand,
She's super on my lap right now, so I thought I'd
make her
introduce
paws
her.
wiggle.
This is Wiggles. Hello. If you hear
I like
something
that she's
funny on my
meowing,
mic, it's like she's like doing all the
snuggling
cat
it.
thing. Yeah, she's snuggling the mic.
Okay.
Oh, cat hair on my face. Anyway, yeah,
So
I have lots of thoughts too.
yeah, you know, I have mixed feelings. I always liked to send out my first batch of like 5-ish, maybe 7-ish queries, not to like, okay, first of all, let's talk about dream agents. First of all,
Yes, I know. I
yeah,
think we have
let's
to
start
just
with
hit
that.
that one right away. Not a useful
It's not, yeah, their
paradigm.
social
It's
media
just not.
presence is
Yeah.
not a reflection of how well you are going to work with them. Or
Nor
the other
is
thing
their
is,
sales record, nor is
yeah,
what agency they work for, nor is
well,
how good they look in their bio. I mean, like it's all like you bring
yeah,
all these pieces together to decide what agents to query, and you just really don't know who your dream agent, who is going to be
yeah. The other thing
until
is
they read your book.
a lot of these agents who are dream agents are the most popular agents simply because of their social media presence and that you have formed a parasocial relationship with them. And I
Mm,
don't mean that to be rude, but like you don't actually know this person and
mhm.
they seem great and they probably are fantastic and their clients love them and they're wonderful agents and they have a bunch of sales. But that doesn't mean that the other 10 agents that don't spend their time on social media won't be just as good or better. My agent, like, okay, first of all, I tried very hard to never have like a dream agent because I just didn't feel like it was realistic.
Yeah.
I also felt like so many of them get so many queries. They get like 10 times as many queries as like less social media based agents. My agent, Kimberly Brower, did not have a whole lot on social media when I signed with her or when I
Mhm.
queried her for that matter.
Yeah.
I queried her because I knew she had a good, strong like sales history. I knew that she ran her own agency and that the agency had a great reputation and that she was looking for books in my genre. And those were the main reasons I queried her. But you
And
know
those
what?
are the reasons that you should query anybody.
Yeah. I got on the phone with her and I had other offers and she was like, it was just like the right agent for me. We had the
Yeah.
right rapport. She had the right thoughts on my book. We agreed on like where I wanted to be career wise in 5 years. And she would have never made my list as like a dream agent because I mean, I'd heard like one interview with her. She's
Right.
not on social media a whole lot. She's there, but she's not like active on it. So
So I don't know. We both really feel like it is good for your process to get over the idea of that there is somebody out there that you already know would be a dream, right? You don't know anything about the agent author relationship until you get on the phone with them, until they've read your book. You just don't know anything about how it's going to go, really. I mean, you only
yeah,
have other people's feedback if maybe they've done interviews where they talk about how great their agent is, and maybe how many books this person has signed and they seem great on Twitter. Like you don't know what your
yeah,
author agent relationship is going to be like with this person. So the other thing I want to say in terms of who to query and in what order, the idea that you're gonna that you're gonna query someone too soon sort of feels like it comes from a scarcity mindset to me. Like there is a limited number of really great agents out there, and I got to be careful and kind of hit them at the optimum time. And I really think that there are hundreds of great agents out there. And depending on your genre, there are probably a lot of agents that would be spectacular if they really bonded with your book. So I don't. It just does something a little different for me, where she looks at Query Tracker and looks at agents that have quick response times, which is very smart because then you can get a sort of a quick round of feedback on how your query is doing, right? If these agents normally
yes,
respond within a week,
But
And
there's a caveat.
oh,
I
caveat.
also, yes, if there is an agent who I felt pretty good about, again, not a dream agent, just an agent I felt good about, if I knew they were going to take months to respond, like because it always took them 90 days to respond or 120 days based on query tracker, I would still make that agent one of the first agents I queried because I knew it was going to take them so long to get
Oh,
back
yeah.
to me.
I sort of just did not do that. I started
Mhm.
researching. I found, I started a list of 10 or 15 agents that seemed like they represented my book, like they seemed like a good fit. And I just started off. I think I sent 6, and I sent another 6 a week later, and I just let the chips fall where they may.
Mhm.
And sure, there were ones where I would look at them and I was like, oh, this one seems really awesome. Like maybe
Yeah.
they're really gonna love my book because of their bio or their wish list or their book list of books they like or people they represent. And I mean, there were ones where I was like, oh, I have hopes. But it's just not useful to think that there's like one person out there who is really like more special than the others. Because
Yeah. I've seen
you
so many
may
people.
find a brand new agent who falls in love with your book and
Yes.
is perfect for you,
And
and
every
sells it.
agent at some point was a brand new agent.
Yeah,
So don't count them out.
no. And also, I mean, I had a similar experience to Jess. My agent is very dreamy. I mean, she is very dreamy. Um,
I hope she watches this.
but to me, it was funny because, like, she represents a lot of romance authors. And I do not write romance. I technically write women's fiction. And even on our phone call, she said to me, I don't read a lot of women's fiction. She was like, I don't like a lot of women's fiction. But still, we were like the perfect match. So, but I queried her, like, it was just sort of like I went to so here's what happened. I actually remember this. I went to her agency website. I was like, huh, this looks interesting, cool. Like they've done a lot of deals and stuff like that. And I was like, newbie author. Like I looked her up on Publishers Marketplace. I was like, oh, like she sold a lot of books. I was like, maybe I should query one of the more junior agents at this agency because I don't know.
Which is a
And
very fair thing to do. Let me just
yeah,
put that in there. There's
yeah,
nothing wrong with doing that. And I did that a lot.
totally. But then I just looked back at Laura's bio and like what she was looking for, and I was just like, I had this moment where I was like, don't self-reject, Sarah. I'm gonna
And now
query
she's your
this.
agent.
I'm gonna query this like badass who runs the agency, and now she's my agent.
That's so funny. That's kind of
And
what I
like,
did with Kimberly too. I was like, I'm just gonna query her. It's gonna be
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I did not know how awesome she was until I got on the phone. I did my research, and especially after she requested my full and then asked for a call, like I looked everything up. I was like, this agent is great on paper. But it wasn't until I actually got on the phone
Yeah.
and talked with her and talked about my book and about my plans that I knew, like, well, this is my dream agent, duh,
Yeah, I feel
but you
like
don't know that ahead of time. So do not
yeah.
agonize. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
So the moral of the story here is like, don't worry too much about it. Like
Yeah.
be aware of what they represent and if they've made deals and that they're actually like submitting to publishers that you would want to be published with. We have like 3 episodes on this. So
Yeah.
go look at them. There's a
Yeah.
playlist called
Go
Querying
review.
and go look in there. And we talk a little bit more about like our approach to querying than we are right now, but don't get too wrapped up in it.
And there's
Whether
only so much you can control.
yeah, totally.
I
And the
think
other
at the
thing
end.
is like, so what if you queried a dream agent 2 weeks ago and now you have an offer? Like if they're interested in your book, they're going to make time to read it.
Yeah.
And if they don't make time to read it, then they probably were never going to offer in the first place. Deep breath. It's okay. Like, don't worry too much about it. That's our answer. Okay.
Yes.
And then we had another question. Oh, that's right. We were going to talk about our writing retreat. So we did another writing retreat. It's been like a month or 2 now
Yeah. No,
since we did
it's
it.
been like a month and a half. It was
Well,
the
we
first
went at
week
the
of
end of
June.
May. It's almost August.
Oh,
Oh,
that happened.
so it's been like 7 weeks. Anyway, we did a Pacific Northwest writing retreat on the beach at an amazing beach house where
So
there's like a little
great.
more space to like go and walk and wander down to the beach. And
Yeah.
Sarah, bold woman that she is, Finn that she is, jumped in the
I walked right down
fucking
to that cold
freezing
Pacific Northwest Puget Sound,
Jump
took off
in.
my clothes and got in and lost my glasses on day one. Lost my glasses,
Yeah, so
without
then she
which
had to
I
go.
cannot read to save my life. So I had to borrow Evie's car, drive to the Walmart, which was 45 minutes away, and buy reading glasses.
Evie brought champagne to celebrate my book coming out, and it was so good and it was so much fun. And on the first night, we went out on this like massive back porch that overlooked the Puget Sound and drank champagne and wandered down to the beach
In our matching hoodies, our
in our
matching
matching hoodies.
customized hoodies with our names on them. Well, not our
Yeah, I
names.
am the evil genius,
And I am the hedonist.
and Evie is the
Empress.
Empress. I was going to say goddess, yes. The Empress. It was such a fun time, and it was just a slightly better location than last time, I think.
This time, right?
Yeah, it was wonderful. But we also came to the conclusion that if we had done a fifth night, we would have needed to like get out and do something else.
Yeah,
at some
because
point
we were this time we were a long way from everything, which was incredible because it was so quiet, and the woods around there were like magical hobbit woods, you know. They were like gnomes living under the roots of the trees. I mean, it was so beautiful.
It was gorgeous. But it was
but it was 45 minutes from anything.
I think next time we're going to try something where like it's quiet and kind of private and like near something beautiful, but also where we can walk in town and go to the farmer's market or grab a coffee or something. But it was almost too isolated because you can only write all day, every day for so long.
I was fine with the isolation.
It was a little hard.
I could get out and walk.
I just needed to get out.
Look at my phone. I listen to some music. Go in the water.
I struggled a little. I go a little.
Yeah. Jess is a little more, needs a little more.
I have to like go on a run every day. I'm at a writing retreat. I can't just like sit all day. I get too.
And this was like down this really steep,
which ended up being a great hill to climb up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah. Anyway, it was awesome. Highly, highly, highly recommend doing this, either by yourself or with a couple of your writing besties. I mean, I hear about other groups of writers doing this on Twitter, and somebody I mentored through the Women's Fiction Writers Association did one up in Canada. And like they had a signature cocktail that involved toasted coconut, and they had like a name for themselves and pictures. Oh, they went when it was snowing. It was like snowing outside this beautiful house.
So listen, if you're wanting to do a writing retreat, we have a whole episode that's like a how-to
on the like DIY.
Yeah, so check that out. It's another episode we've done. So this is just a quick recap of the most recent one we did. Okay, I think that's it for this episode, but we are going to try to get back to posting, if not every week, then every other week. So keep an eye out for more episodes, and we will talk to you soon. Again, please give us a quick like and subscribe. We have our Wednesday night chats every other Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and if
9
you take
p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, and don't forget Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Mountain Time.
All y'all in Mountain Time, you can come too.
Yeah. So anyway, I am at author Jess Payne on Twitter.
And I am at Sarah Reed Author.
And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.